Hey everyone, welcome back to the second to last part of my top 100. This is 20 through 11. A lot of great games here. I own all my games from 20 up to 1, so all these I can show you on camera. And with these 10, there are no new ones. So all of these were on the list before. Some of them have fallen a little bit from the top 10. So without further ado, let's get right to it. Number 20 was 12 last year, so it has fallen by a little bit, and that is Seven Wonders. Fantastic drafting game. The drafting game that I compare all other drafting games to. In this game, you have a particular wonder that you're building, and you're playing various different cards. And the way you play the cards, so here's one of the wonders. This is Olympia. This is the older version of the game. I don't have the newer one. I like the older one fine. I'm not going to upgrade. And you play these various different cards to give yourself resources or points or military ability. And because it's drafting, you're all playing at the same time. That means that you can play even a full 7-player game. And I've played a 7-player game in as little as 15 minutes. And it's still a great game, despite being 15 minutes. I think this game is a little bit too complicated to be like an introductory game. So I don't use it when teaching people who are like new to the hobby. Some people do use it that way. I prefer Sushi Go Party in that case. This is a much better game though for people once they are more comfortable in the hobby. That is Seven Wonders. I forgot to mention too, if you're watching this far, I think I'm going to do my top 10 live this Saturday at 10:30 a.m. That's the goal. So come watch me live on YouTube, and hopefully at least one person watches, and then I can get some comments and react to you in real time. Let's continue on though. Number 19 was 17 last year, so it has barely changed at all. And this is Nexus Ops. Nexus Ops, isn't that a beautiful cover? Love that cover. It's a terrible cover. Nexus Ops is the most combat intensive game, I think, in my top 20. And you're fighting over these little hexes on this alien planet, and all of your pieces are these little, like, here's these rock strider dudes. They have these little things that glow under a black light, and it's hard to see in front of me. But essentially, this is taking the combat mechanism from Axis and Allies and putting it into a game that's actually good because it only takes 90 minutes. Takes an hour and a half. It's not that complicated, but it's like a lot of good dice chucking and just combat. In order to win the game, you have to fight. You cannot take a back seat and just like play it safe. You gotta fight if you want to win, because initiating and winning a battle gives you a victory point, and the first one to, I think it's 13 victory points, wins. There's other ways to get victory points too, but mostly it's just from starting and finishing battles. And it just works really well because of that, because it's incentivizing you to fight. So that is 19. Nexus Ops plays really well with 3 or 4. I haven't tried, don't think I'd try it with 2. All right, number 18 was 31 last year. So it is risen by quite a bit. And that is one of the heaviest games I own. I gotta move games around just to pick this sucker up. Marvel Legendary. This is a deck builder, and I have a lot of various different sets for it. There are a lot more that I don't have. There's so many sets for this game that I do not own. So in this game, I wonder what happens if I take some things out. But you're playing as Marvel heroes against Marvel villains. So let's see whose deck I randomly grab here. We've got War Machine. So you've got Don Cheadle in your deck here. But you cooperatively are trying with your friends to defeat some mastermind. So maybe it's Doctor Doom, maybe it's Galactus. There's so much variability for this game. I wonder if I can even show you. So I printed off some of these things online that actually like show you the various different things. So here you can see this is Apocalyptic Kitty Pryde. So from like the Age of Apocalypse timeline or something like that. And that's the number of cards I have for this game. It's kind of crazy. One of my favorite deck builders, I should say, this is There's still several. There's still several more deck builders to come. There's three more or two more today, uh, and then two more next time. So yeah. Um, what else to say about Marvel Legendary? Um, one of the best deck builders. Also, the theme is great. Also, so you are working cooperatively, but then there's also one ultimate winner. So it's what's called a semi-co-op game. And yes, I play it semi-co-op, as opposed to some people will tell you, oh, no one plays this game semi-cooperatively. Thinking of Tom Vassell here. Not to throw shade at him, but I do, and it's great. It's great that you can all win, but then one of you has done better than everyone else. I love it. It makes cooperative games better. That is number 18, Marvel Legendary. Number 17 was 11 last year, so it's fallen by just a little bit. Haven't played it much, but it's still such a good game. This is Castles of Mad King Ludwig. In this game, I think it's going to be easier to show you at the back here. You are building a castle for Mad King Ludwig, who's the guy who, this is Neuschwanstein, is that how you say that? Who created a bunch of castles because he was crazy and liked castles. But, you know, we all cope in different ways. So in this game, you're buying these various different tiles from people, and you're playing them down, and then you create this weird, fantastic layout with some of these crazy rooms. So here we have like the vestibule, the Berchte room, whatever that is, the drawing room, the greenhouse. All these different colored rooms have different rules associated with them, and so you get points when you play them down, but then you also get points when you finish them. So you'll notice here, the foyer here has 3 entrances and 3 rooms attached to it. So you get the foyer bonus. You know, you get the bonus for a hallway whenever you complete it. Same thing here with the vestibule. You get the bonus for the purple room whenever you complete that one. Which the bonus for the purple room is like rescored again, and so this one would actually be worth a decent amount of points because it's next to a yellow room, which wants to be next to yellow rooms. Now this yellow room though is not next to an activity room, which it wants to be next to. And like it sounds super complicated, and it is kind of hard to learn, but it works so well because the theme is just so fun. Also, I do like Castle Mad King Ludwig better than Suburbia for what it's worth, but they are very similar games out. I don't know if you necessarily need both. I like having both. Number 16 is, I should double check. No, this is bound to be the highest. Yeah, this is definitely my favorite cooperative game. It was 15 last year, so basically about the same. And this is Hanabi. Hanabi is my favorite cooperative game, I think by far. I don't know what the next highest one was. I guess Marvel Legendary kind of is, but it's semi-co-op. In this game, you have a hand of cards, and you so you have a hand of 4 cards, and you and your teammates are trying to build the cards from 1 up to 5 in these different suits, 5 different suits. And if you can get up to 25 points, you do perfectly. You win the game. You also win if you get less than that, which I've never gotten 25. I've come so close so many times. The weird thing with this game is you cannot look at your cards. You hold your cards like this, and then your other teammates can give you clues. So they might be like, this one is a 5. And now I have to be like, okay, now remember this one is a 5, because you want to hold on to the 5s. There's only one of each one. And then, so you're trying to communicate with each other, but there's very limited rules as to how you can, and you can't look at your at your cards. A little bit of memory involved because of that, but yeah, it works so well, and it gets so stressful in such a good way. You have to. I would not play this game with people who get extremely frustrated with other people, because if someone does not pick up on what you're putting down, oh my gosh, you can get so frustrated. You're like, oh, I told you that. You should have known this. And then that was number 16, Hanabi. Number 15 was 5 last year. And the reason it's fallen so comparatively far is because I just haven't been playing this that much. Mostly because the person I used to play it with lived with me for a while, and we played it a ton. And that's Innovation. I used to play this game with Herb all the time. A 2-player game of this is insane. In Innovation, which is, yeah, just this little tiny box full of these different cards, and basically on your turn you just get 2 actions, and it is essentially tech tree the game. So you're discovering things like code of laws or tools, and then you go all the way up to like nukes and like the internet and things like that. And you get to this interesting situation where you're splaying your cards, is what they call it. So you get access to other symbols that you've had before, but you only ever have one card on top of the 5 different suits. Each of the cards is different. They each allow you to do something different. So you might be like, oh, I'll activate domestication. But then domestication means if someone else has more of the, this is the one with the cute doggo on it. See a cute dog? If someone else has more of these little castle symbols, then they can also do the same action. It plays very differently as a three-player game or a 4-player game than it does as a 2-player game, but I like all of them. I probably would not rank it this high if it were not such a good 2-player game. The 4-player game is just insane. Also, you can end the game. So the normal way you win the game is by getting these achievements, and you're like, oh, I am good, and therefore I win the game. But you can also win the game via like weird other things, like a robot uprising, or like becoming like one with the universe and stuff like that. It gets really weird with some of those things, and all in this tiny little box. Amazing game. Honestly, one of the craziest designs I think I've ever seen. That was innovation. Number 14 was number 9 last year, so it's fallen by a little bit, but not much. And this is the Taverns of Tiefenthal. I mentioned when talking about Quacks of Quedlinburg that I liked a game by Wolfgang Warsch more. That's this one. In the Taverns of Tiefenthal, you are building a bar, and you're deck building. It's another deck builder. You're also drafting these dice. You're also upgrading these portions of your tavern because these are all little puzzle pieces that you can turn over and make them better if you pay the money to upgrade them. So you're hiring more staff. You're getting better visitors, better patrons. You're going around this little monastery track. There are so many different things, and as it says up here, it includes 4 expansions. It almost feels a little disjointed with how many things are in this game, but it works so well. I prefer to play with missing just one of the expansions, the signatures, the guest book expansion. Don't really need that one, but everything else is just amazing and fantastic. That is Taverns of Tiefenthal, the second deck builder on this list, and my 4th favorite deck builder, it would appear, because there's 3 higher. Next, number 13 was number 6 last year. So it's fallen by a bit. There are a lot of 2-player skirmish games out there, by which I mean one player is against the other person, they have guys in front of them, and they're maneuvering around and killing each other. In my opinion, this is the best. This is Summoner Wars. This is the master set. This is also the first edition. There is a new edition of Summoner Wars out, which I hear is even better, but I like the first edition, and I have almost all of the factions. I don't have the filth, which I do want the filth. But anyway, I don't need the new edition. I've got this edition. It's great. So you play as a faction. Again, I love games with factions, with asymmetry. And you do various different things. So these guys are the Tundra Orcs. They move their guys around and they try and destroy other people's walls. My favorite faction here, this is the Deep Dwarves. The Deep Dwarves are so good. They just turtle all the time. There's all sorts of fascinating little interactions in this game. You've got the undead. There's also some factions that are like not the stereotypical fantasy. So like the Deep Dwarves are kind of like that, but like you have the Phoenix Elves. There are also some Jungle Elves, but there's no Wood Elves. There's also the Shadow Elves, which are weird. And then you've got goblins, but here's the Sand Goblins. So they're a little bit different. It's a very nerdy game, and I love that. It plays extremely well with 2. Plays okay with 4. You can do teams of 2 against each other. But yeah, it's my favorite 2-player skirmish game. That is Summoner Wars. Not my favorite 2-player only game, though, as we're about to see. I guess it's not technically only, but it's basically only. But anyway, this next one is also a 2-player game, and this is the 3rd highest deck builder on my list. It was 14 last year, 12 this year. This is Star Realms. and I made my own version of the box. That's the base game right there. I cut up all of the base game boxes and put them on one of these card boxes here, along with some cards that I didn't need. This game is essentially a deck builder combined with kind of Magic the Gathering, because you're just trying to knock the other person's life down to authority, they call it in this game, but you're trying to knock their life down to 0, and it starts at like 40 or 50, depending on which version of the game you're playing. And you have these different factions, and you have bases, and you have ships. So it's very sci-fi. The different factions have different things they focus on. So like the red guys focus on thinning your deck. The blue guys focus on giving you more life, authority. The yellow guys make you discard cards. They also draw cards themselves. And then there's the green guys, which are the blob, and they're just straight up aggro, like aggression. This is such a good game. What else do I want to say about it? It's just, if you like deck building, you owe it to yourself to try this one. It just works really well, and if you know what you're doing, which is not that hard, you can play a game in 10 minutes, and it's a great game. There's a really good app that I've played some as well. Yeah, highly recommend it. There's number 12, Star Realms. And number 11, just out of the top 10, was 13 last year. I don't know why it's moved up. I don't think I've played it in a year and a half, and I need to because it's so good. This is Navigator, which also, this was a gift from my girlfriend, Amy, who is now my wife, Amy, and that's cool. For, I think, our first Christmas together. Maybe we were engaged by then. I can't remember. Everything jumbles together after 10 years of marriage, you know. In this game, you are playing on this map, and you are trading around the not the Mediterranean, but like the Indian and Atlantic Oceans, and I guess a little bit of the Pacific Ocean as well. This game has what's called a rondel. So let me talk about what a rondel is here a bit. This is the rondel. Is this the, yeah, this is the English side. The other side's in Portuguese. I don't know. On the rondel, you have a little guy there, and then to do your next action, you can move ahead up to 3 spots. So a lot of this game, yes, you're spreading across here, you're sending your ships around. It has these good little minis, which I don't really want to open the bags and show you everything. And you're trading, and there's a stock market thing over there that you're trying to, I can't even show you because the board is so big. Stock market here, the different commodities are going up and down based on whether you're producing or refining them. Great implementation of a stock market system. But really the key to the game is choosing what your path around the rondel is, because you can usually only go 1 to 3 spots. So if you're on this ships right here, maybe you're trying to do ships sailing colony, and you can, that's a strategy. It's actually a pretty good strategy. You can go to the market as well when you need money. By the way, a strategy tip, don't go to the market unless you need money and unless the market's going to be good to you. This game does have a problem, and the stock market is fantastic, but the problem is if the person in front of you is going for a lot of sugar colonies, you should go for a lot of sugar factories, which means that the person after you should go for a lot of sugar colonies, which means that the person after them should go for a lot of sugar factories, which means a 4-player game does not work. Cannot play this game 4-player. I mean, you could. Like it says it's like 2 to 5 play. Does it say 2 to 5? Or does it say 3 to 5? It says 2 to 5. Do not play this with an even number of players because the game is broken. It just doesn't work that way. It works so well with 3 or 5 though, like amazingly well, because that cycle is then broken. So if the person in front of you is getting a lot of sugar factories, you get a lot of sugar colonies. Yeah, that works that way. Sugar factories, you get a lot of sugar colonies. Then the person after you is incentivized to get sugar factories. If they do, the person after them is incentivized to get sugar colonies. But that was the first person who was always going for sugar factories, and they don't want to get both. So now the whole game is just like this little puzzle that everyone's trying to work out how they can manipulate the market and manipulate the other players to manipulate the market for them. Amazing at 3 or 5. Just don't play it at 2 or 4. Well, this has been a little bit longer. I'm sure the next one will be even longer. The top 10 is coming on Saturday, this Saturday, which I think is the 14th. Yeah, 2 days from now, at 10:30 in the morning Eastern Time. or maybe earlier or maybe later, watch Facebook or Twitter if you follow me there. Comment if a different time works better for me, and you will watch then. And yeah, let's see, 3 new games and 2 deck builders yet to come. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on Saturday if you can make it. Bye.